Home Brothers. This is a simple video maybe on somebody you've never heard about or don't really care about, but Richard Stallman. And Richard Stallman, I've watched a couple of his videos giving discussions concerning his vision of freedom and the way the world should be. And I want to express that I basically support him. I think he's on the right track. In a way, I think he's somewhat Asiatic, in the sense that he's concerned about things being too organized or having a central authority. He seems to be worried that people are spying on him or tracking him. This is somewhat Asiatic to me. I think maybe for most white people we think, yeah, track me, put a camera in my room if you want, but there ain't nothing particularly interesting going on in here. And also we doubt that the powers that be would have so much interest in every one of us that they would invest that kind of resource into tracking us and finding us and bugging us and doing these kinds of things. So actually what Richard Stallman is bringing up is two separate issues. One is concerning can we patent or copyright ideas, and the second issue is privacy. And concerning privacy, privacy is not a big issue to me. I think privacy is probably one of the least concerns that I have as a celibate yogi, and I think probably for most of the people listening to this, privacy is not a huge issue. And I think privacy actually translates into the online community. Privacy translates into secrecy for illegal or immoral conduct. And what I would like to see is actually a lot less privacy in the world in general. I would like to see cameras everywhere. I would like to hear conversations recorded everywhere, have everyone tracked, know everything. This would be a great benefit to society, given the condition that we have somewhat better leaders or less corruption. And this is the point that Eric Hushmet brings up. I think a lot of people jumping into the privacy bandwagon saying, I want more privacy. Number one, they do have personal and moral problems that they're trying to cover up. This is a problem. And then number two, if there's a good person and he wants to have all this privacy and whatever, he has nothing to cover up, then he might actually be concerned about corruption in government. Always the question is, would you want someone in government to have a bug in your home? Like, this is my cell phone. And would you want somebody to have a bug that can always listen in on your conversations? Well, how do I put it? If there was a bug on this thing and all my brothers could hear it, and if the government were like a decent government, like pretty much like the government of Germany or Japan, I'm sure, put a bug in it. Good idea. So why are good people worried about privacy? It's probably because of corruption. And like what Hushmet says, actually the first issue is corruption. And we shouldn't be using privacy as a way to get around the issue of corruption. We need to deal with corruption in society, in the police force, first, before we start dealing with any issue. Because if we're completely anti-government and we don't want any government, and the government shouldn't listen to or have any information, and the government needs to be out of everything, then you're talking anarchy, you're talking a pretty crazy thing. How can we reduce that? We could, in a lot of issues, we could start getting that way. And in other words, privacy is not a solution to corruption. It's like just putting more locks and a cage on your front door, like we're doing that in Italy. Everybody has cages on their front door and their windows. It's like living in a jail. Same here in China. And it's not a really good solution. It's a very private, personal solution to a very general problem that eventually we're going to have to fix. And so I don't really see privacy as something I particularly support. Richard Stallman on. But I really like his idea of the free society, freedom, and what that freedom is. And what he's talking about is the freedom to share and to use ideas, including ideas in software, ideas you're talking about, remixing anything you want, making new things. And it's funny, somebody asked him, well, what's the commercial model for that? If everybody's free to copy, then who has a profit? His response to that was like, I don't give a damn. And I think that's a really interesting answer. If there is no profit in software somehow, and even if we don't have computers, then fine. But we don't want to live in a world where everybody's suing each other and we're not free to create the music and the arts and the things that we're creating, because we're stifled by patents and copyrights and such. But something he didn't go into, because he's emphasizing the principle, is in fact there is a beautiful system for paying programmers and paying people who are actively involved in free software. Now, I'm a volunteer myself for free software movement. I think free software movement is a really good thing, and I'll spend some of my time. Something anybody can do that's listening to this video, if you want to do some voluntary work, you install a free operating system on your computer, and anything that you find is wrong or odd, the bugs, you go report them at Bug Tracker. And Bug Tracker is a very organized system to help programmers see where all the problems are coming from different systems. And because before Mark Shuttleworth and the Ubuntu system, we didn't have a system like that, Bug Tracker, and there was just this really mysterious thing on Windows that would say, do you want to send a report on this crash? And it would send it nowhere, and it was sort of like the Matrix. The question is, does it really matter? So no, it doesn't matter on Windows, but on Ubuntu and Mint and all these other free operating systems, now I think Chrome OS is probably mostly free. You can report these bugs, and that takes care of 90% of the time that a programmer would spend trying to improve a program. Just having an organized list of bugs to go after saves him a ton of time and allows volunteers to take care of a lot of problems. And actually, most of the people taking problems on Linux today are not volunteers. They're paid, and you can work for Canonical, you could work for Red Hat, SUSE, I think. There's probably a SourceForge system where the first user of a program pays for it, and then all the other people get to enjoy it. This is part of a free world, and an open world where we cut out the middleman. And in the free world, people are paying for software once, and in the unfree world of Microsoft and Mac, people are paying on some middleman, special white people, and a huge fat organization, usually of international spies and everything else, to do nothing, basically. Operating systems are free. They've been free for the average user since about 2007. There's several thousand of these free operating systems. You can get a Buddhist system, a Christian system. You can get a system in any language you want. You could get a system installed with Tibetan. It's all free. Now, so that's what I want to support. I want to say, Richard Stallman, thank you for your work, and I support your articles and what you're doing. I agree that the kind of world that we want to live in is a cool world where people generally share things. And as for people getting paid, yeah, of course, people will get paid. The first guy gets paid, and the first person with that program, and the first person with the functionality, and the big website, and the name, gets a lot of advantage. So that money is worth it, even though everybody behind them can get it for free and adapt it in their own way. So this new software model, the open source model, is useful, productive. I think all of us are using some form of open source software right now as we're speaking. Firefox, Chrome, VLC, GIMP, Audacity, a whole huge list now of programs that are native to Linux, and probably about 10-20% of us are using it as our main desktop system. And so I want to encourage the cool world where everybody shares things freely. I share my stuff freely, you share yours freely, we create, we enjoy, we have an easy life. No TM, Rs, or Cs, and no filling in big codes and giving out credit card numbers every time you install something. Restarting your computer, getting updates every 6 months instead of when they actually come available. Vulnerabilities to viruses and security vulnerabilities, that's a thing of the past. You don't have to deal with that. So again, thank you, Richard Stallman, and